Hello, my fellow seekers. Welcome to Into the Work, therapy for empaths, seekers, and the intuitively driven, where you have front row seats to therapy sessions and expert interviews that will help you define the important work that you're here to do. So I guess you actually have something better than front row seats. You practically have a seat on my couch. That's right, you will have unrestricted access to actual sessions with real people, exploring real life issues. You will continue to be inspired by powerful conversations with experts and healers that might just share exactly what it is that you need to hear to get unstuck. I am Michelle Pauverman. I am a recovering people pleaser and former anxiety-driven empath, turned now mostly grounded psychotherapist and intuitive coach. I have been helping people for almost 20 years manage their limiting beliefs and anxiety to finally stop the self-sabotage and step into their gifts. I created this podcast, Into the Work, to give you a place to learn more about yourself and give you actionable strategies to finally move those roadblocks holding you back so you can go for what you want. Above all else, my hope is that this podcast is a catalyst for your awakening. If you're listening, you've already taken a step towards getting off of autopilot, and our next steps together will be taken episode by episode, waking you up to the possibilities, the new ways of thinking and being, so that you can stretch into that next level of your story. The spark has already been lit, and my friend, this is a journey from spark to brilliance. So together, let's light a fire. Hello there. Welcome back to the show. Today, we're going to talk about how you can adopt a magical perspective that just makes shit happen. So let's dive in by starting with, what is this magical perspective that I speak of? In my years of doing the work for myself, also my clients, but for myself, it has occurred to me with each passing year, I get wiser and wiser at this, that I keep coming back to the same truth. I can do all sorts of things to make myself feel better. And I do try to, I'm like every other human. I cycle in and out of the good stuff. I can clean up my diet, and it is wonderful. I notice a big difference when I'm eating clean. For sure, I feel so much better. My mood, all sorts of things about me, my life, do get into a better place. I can work on my self-care and my self-love and my acceptance, changing my inner dialogue around these things, which does make a really big difference when I show up for myself in that. And even tapping into emotional intuition practices, which is really helpful and makes a big difference when I can go inward like that for answers and pay attention to my emotions. But every time I shift back into doing manifestation work again, when I work to shift my vibration by focusing on changing my beliefs and therefore my thoughts and actions and feelings in order to manifest things in my life, it is seriously a special form of magic. You know if you know. So if you're listening and you're like, yeah, I do, you know that when you've done manifestation work in your life, things feel magical. And there's a certain alignment of your energy that occurs that's hard to put into words, but it does feel like magic. So I want to talk about these people who have, a magical perspective, people who have done the manifestation work, people who really are able to lean into these resiliency factors, because they are all resiliency factors. I'm going to talk to you today about a new perspective on things and this magical perspective that you too can start to work towards. And it is, I promise you, amazing. So the magical perspective that I'm going to talk about today has 3 components to it, 3 areas that I want you to focus on. And each of these areas, I'm going to share some meaning around that so that you can connect with it more deeply. So first, I want you to take a look at this magical perspective asks you to trust that everything will be okay. So number 1, that I trust everything will be okay. Their ability or their commitment to trusting that everything will be okay. And no matter what, I am okay. No matter what, I'm okay. The pure resiliency factor in this is kind of profound. A mantra that I use and teach my clients to use is, I am eternally safe. The idea behind this is that this body that I'm in is temporary, but eternally I am safe. On a soul level, I am safe always. And a quick little nugget that if you are somebody that has been through major loss, grief, tragedy, or trauma, a lot of these things that we're going to be talking about today are things that will take you time to get to. And you can know that you're right on time in your own healing. And these are not things you should be feeling if you're not able to access them right now. And so I just want to highlight that. But the belief that everything, the good and the bad, is happening exactly as it needs to support your growth as a soul, that belief is embedded in that I trust that everything will be okay. So when you're falling into regret and grief and a good dose of disappointment, try to remind yourself that everything is happening exactly as you needed it to happen in order to become who you are becoming next. Really, when I look back on being as sick as I was at one point in my life with Lyme disease and mold issues that were just taking over my vitality and my body, it was so hard to see how life-changing it would be. And to be honest, I wouldn't change it. I know that sounds crazy because I still have to face certain consequences of all that. I still have issues. I'm super sensitive. I have to constantly be working on staying healthy. But honestly, probably wouldn't be here talking to you right now had that not happened. Because that happened, I had to go into the deepest level of healing, emotionally, mentally, and physically in my entire life. And that led me on this deeper, energetic healing path and changed what I did for a living. It changed my whole life on how I am of service. It changed everything. So I don't want to change it, right? I wouldn't take it back. And so now I can have that perspective that something that was so horrible really was exactly what needed to happen to push me into my purpose, push me into who I'm becoming next. Adopting the belief that everything is medicine. So everything that happens is medicine. Every single thing that has ever happened to you, every single moment of your life has something to teach you. The good, the bad are equally as important to your personal evolution. Instead of seeing our pain as happening to us, we can shift into knowing that it's happening for us. I know that you've heard this before. It's been said, but and it might even be annoying, but there really is something important in it for us to adopt, that I am not a victim in this, and that this is my life unfolding to teach me and to push me and to make me grow. Even if you don't always see the lessons, the experiences, without you realizing it, are still pushing you to your purpose. So you get to choose between how you perceive things. So no matter what happens, you have the choice to stay the victim of a circumstance and swallow poison, or eventually choose medicine. And when people start to pursue what their life purpose is, a lot of times I tell them to look at what you have struggled with the most. Within these stories, it is usually a pattern of you being led towards lessons that are lining up to heal you and fulfill a purpose, even though they suck, even though they're painful, even though they seem unbearable. Unbearable pain teaches us, sometimes cracks us open to the biggest lessons. Your pain is a catalyst to your becoming and your purpose. So it's a big deal. It's as important, I think, than the good stuff. So when faced with adversity, people with a magical perspective eventually pivot and turn something nasty or dead that grows and prospers. They pivot it. They learn to shift it. They learn to shift the way they see it, they feel it, they experience it, they let it teach them, and they trust. I have been through some heavy things where grief and heartache felt like at the time, like I was being robbed of the ability to ever feel joy again. That's how intense it felt. So to access this perspective that I'm talking about, the specific high vibration, like trusting and things like that, they weren't accessible to me. I share this so you can hear that we aren't necessarily meant to be in this high vibe of a trusting state your whole life. You are going to get your ass kicked. You are going to get your ass kicked by life. I'm sorry, but you are. At some point, something is going to happen, and you're going to experience pain, likely multiple times. And however, it is like a garden that grows dormant during the harsh winter months, right? You have all that you need to flourish again, and conditions will change. That's one thing we can always trust, is that change will happen. You are meant to find your way back to a high vibrational flourish. And that work of coming back into alignment is everything. It's the whole point. So in case you're listening and this kind of thinking and feeling feels out of reach, it might be time to water the garden and feel the sun and know that you were made for this type of healing and everything you need is available to you. It's as much about dying and being dormant as it is about your comeback, as it is about the comeback to your glory, right? The truth is that you are surrounded by source energy that is waiting for you. It's waiting for the cue from you so that it can mirror back this fact that you are here to heal and create a deeply gratifying life. It just may not be deeply gratifying 24/7, but as a whole, the fulfillment and the potential is all waiting for you. So this leads me on to number 2. And that is that people with a magical perspective align their actions and thoughts with source energy, whether they know it or not. Some people don't know they're doing it. And, some of us, we just struggle so much and, we have to work really hard at it. Bear with me here. I'm going to try to make this really simple for you to understand. So I want you to imagine that there is this river of energy flowing all around you. The energy is a certain vibration or frequency, much like radio waves. When we tune into the frequency and match it with our own frequency to the frequency of the source that's flowing around us, when we resonate together within this frequency, we are tapping into source energy. That is where the magical manifestations happen. When we're vibrating and have that same frequency is this energy that created worlds, right? This energy, the source energy, has created everything that we know of. So I believe in the idea that seeing results in this work is 80% internal work and 20% our action. So in other words, in order to be a vibrational match for the higher things you want to reach for, it's 80% internal work and 20% of what you do action-wise. And a large part of this 80% is rewiring your beliefs and committing to that discipline of showing up and doing this internal work. But 80% of that, it's got to do with rewiring your beliefs. And this then starts to impact how you feel and think and act. And that's what you're showing up for, shifting those things. Let's take an example of how, if you're not consciously working on your beliefs, you can unconsciously allow your beliefs to sabotage things. So let's say that you have decided to take up a new activity, such as hiking. You're so excited to go. You buy all the new gear you need. You read about the best peaks in your area with awesome views. Maybe you live near the mountains and you just really never get into hiking, but you know how awesome it is. You're like, I'm going to love this. Fresh air, gorgeous nature. I'm so ready for the challenge. It's going to be hard, but I can't wait to accomplish it. I can't wait to take a picture at every peak that I'm going to hit this summer. I can't wait. So now you tell your friend and you're like, this is what I'm doing. I'm so excited. And they're like, oh no. You know how dangerous that is? Do you know how easy it is to get hurt? I know so many people that going downhill gets really slippery with the rocks. And I can't tell you how many people I know that have blown a knee or sprained an ankle, and that's months of recovery. It happens all the time. You know you can get lost too, by the way. You need to be careful. This could be dangerous. And by the way, you're going to be covered in blisters. What do you have to protect your feet from the blisters, right? I've tried it. It's not worth the injury. These are all messages that you kept getting, right? Hey, hiking in the mountains is really meant for young people in incredibly good shape. So now the day comes and you're like, oh, I hope I have what it takes. Could fall and hurt myself. Am I in good enough shape? And then you're like, oh my God, I cannot take off any work. I am all out of vacation time. I can't really take up any more sick time. Shit, I hope I don't get hurt. Now, if you were going, right? Oh, and I bet take those blisters, right? And if you were like, okay, you never heard any of this. Either you didn't attach to any of these beliefs in the first place. So you're like, okay, yep. Or you did the work to rewire them and get back into alignment with source energy so that you could feel completely different the day of, would have a huge impact on whether or not you sabotaged it, right? So, you go to the mountain that day and you notice how slippery the rocks are when you're heading down. And, you think to yourself, oh no, I could really get hurt. Oh my gosh, my ankles, my knees, right? Or, when you're hiking, you realize you feel the burn and it's starting to get hard. And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not in good enough shape for this. Maybe I should take a break. Maybe I should just do half of it today. And maybe you sabotage the whole thing and you just don't even make it to the top. And then you think to yourself, well, I'm not going to be good at this. I can't do it. If you didn't have those beliefs in place, you'd be like, I'm going to push past this pain. I'm going to get to the top. The top is all that matters. I'm so excited to take pictures up there. I can't wait to put this on my bucket list. I can't wait to keep doing this. I'm going to do a ton of stretching. I'm going to do some heat. I'm going to take an ice bath. I don't know, whatever, right? It's so different how you're going to experience it based on how you're showing up with those beliefs. So again, to see results and maintain the magical perspective, it's 80% of this internal work and 20% of really the actions that you take. So the third component I want you to consider is that people with a magical perspective also make a choice. They choose to surrender to uncertainty. And this one's the hard one. So many people are attached to knowing the outcome before they take a step forward. When you embrace uncertainty as an adventure versus a threat, that's when true miracles can happen. And it helps to understand that you're a creator in your life. So try to stay with me here for a moment. So while things are uncertain and seemingly out of control, when you really align with this knowledge that you are creating everything, that everything is unfolding in your life, that you are responsible for what you create, therefore, you take greater responsibility for your part in the things that are unfolding in your life. You then put a stop to your victim mentality, to the ways you are believing and thinking and acting from a victim state. This is where your control and power lies as a creator. If you look around and don't like what's happening in your life, via relationships, career, finances, etc., it's reflecting what you've created. It's reflecting the beliefs you have. It's reflecting your thinking, your limitations. It's reflecting that it's time to create something else. Your environment is mirroring really important information to you so that you can grow and heal. When I started this podcast, I personally had to leap into a great unknown. Will anybody listen? Will I be able to keep up with it? It's a lot of work, they kept saying. Everybody, podcasts are a lot of work. And I don't really know how much work did I, right? I didn't know how much work. And so it got a little scary that it was going to get out of control for me and then I was going to quit it and then I was going to be a failure, right? How about the trolls? Am I going to be judged? Are people going to publicly shame me? Think about all the ways that this could have gone wrong, right? Maybe they're going to think I'm not interesting enough. It would be so easy to let all those fears and uncertainties of what's going to happen when I start this and do this. Is it going to spin out of control? When we do the 80% work, we realize we have no control over our environment. We have no control over how the environment responds to us, but we do have control over how we respond to the environment. So this strengthens my ability to feel safer with uncertainty, that I know how to respond to the environment when it gets out of control or when it does something I don't like. This knowing allows me to surrender to the unknown with more ease and try to see it as an adventure versus a threat. This is where we take big leaps that have potentially huge soul growth payoffs. And sometimes, they just are big failures and flops of not working out how we planned. And that in itself, too, is a big lesson of maybe we sabotaged it. Maybe we have a lot to learn about why that happened. But if you trust that you're going to be okay no matter what, right? Let's bring us full circle right now. If you can, one, trust that you're going to be okay no matter what, because you trust that you can turn pain into medicine, no matter what happens, it's going to be okay. I'm eternally safe. And if you have been doing the work of shifting your frequency, rewiring your beliefs for higher thoughts, feelings, and actions to resonate again with source energy, even after you fall off to the path. That's the best part. When you fall off the path, you get muddy and gross, and you've done wrong, or you are hurting, or you have been off this spiritual light path for a while. The fact that you have learned that you can get back on is also part of that resiliency. If you surrender to the unknown after you have connected with source energy again, after you've fallen off that path, then you can surrender to the unknown. The big risk-taking adventure that life really is, because that's what this is, folks, right? Everything is a risk every day. Every relationship, every day we show up to something, there's risk. And learning to be in flow and connect and trust, all of it is what you are built for. It is why you are here, to create something beautiful. And we really came down here to say, what do you want this time? What are you learning? What did you learn before? So yes, that's it. I hope this has inspired you. I hope this has gotten you to think about some of the things that will help you find your own magical perspective. There's a lot of work involved in it. I'm here for you. I'm building programs behind the scenes to support you in this. And I'm excited to be able to talk about things I'm passionate about. And I'm so grateful, so grateful that you are still listening. And I appreciate you and love you and send you all this beautiful light energy. And we are connected just by listening. All right, so have a wonderful rest of your week and talk with you next week. Thank you for listening to Into the Work Therapy for Empaths and Seekers. Don't forget to grab your free gift, your Shadow Work Transformation Bundle at michellepoverman.com. I've included everything you need to get started to break through the patterns of self-sabotage and finally start to heal the parts of yourself that are getting in the way of truly reaching your potential. From a powerful meditation designed to help you meet and embrace your shadow self, to the guide that's full of curated prompts and important questions to support you on this journey. This really can be the work for you to unmask the root cause of all the issues you've been experiencing, honestly, and start to feel free to believe in yourself and go for what you want. The link for this free bundle is in the show notes. And if you like this episode, I would be so grateful if you could take a moment and rate, click and follow, and leave a review. Of course, you can always follow me on socials at Michelle Poverman. And keep in mind, as you embark on your journey from spark to brilliance, remember, the universe is always conspiring in favor of your awakening. Everything that's happening is in support of you lighting your own fire within. So until we meet again, may your path be well lit and your heart be guided. Shine bright, seekers. Until next time.